Hey guys, thanks for joining on this episode of the Thoughtcast. Conversations about animation. Got Jody and Bridget coming in from Georgia. I'm your host, Philip Elke. I'm in northern Minnesota. And yeah, we're talking some live action today during Wicked Month. We'll see how this goes. I'm very tired, so sorry you two. Will try to keep this one kind of sh short and casual. But yeah, kind of an unusual subject. But I wanted to kind of sneak it in before finally diving into Wicked. I know you guys are really excited about Wicked, have both seen it. I don't know, an initial, I still haven't seen Wicked. Jody, Bridget,
Oh my gosh. You guys
yeah,
are killing me.
well,
I know
Bridget
that
has,
many people have
yeah,
seen.
Bridget
No,
hasn't either.
I haven't
no,
seen it yet.
you have seen it, and I am at the point like I think sleep and eat Wicked. Like, granted, I just shared a different story about something else, but truly, it's all I would like to talk about. And you guys are dragging your feet to the theaters, and it's literally I'm doing Uncut Gems as like an olive branch to get you guys to talk about Wicked as soon as possible, and Laura as well. Like, it is phenomenal. We don't need to talk too much about it today, obviously, but the whole world is abuzz about it, and I cannot believe you guys haven't seen it yet.
I know,
Yeah.
I want to, but I was like, oh yeah, we're gonna see it Wednesday. And my mom was like, oh, absolutely not. Thursday is Thanksgiving, so no. And I was like, fine, after Thanksgiving then. So we're gonna
Yeah.
see it this weekend.
And instead, we're watching this movie from 2019 that is
Oh,
very stressful and very claustrophobic.
Oh, I love it. I saw this in theaters, hadn't seen it since. It's A24 film, Uncut Gems, lots of swearing. It's definitely a movie for grown-ups. But it features Adam Sandler in a very dramatic role, a serious role, but also, I mean, this movie is kind of very much like a understated comedy in many ways, just the way it plays out, this character and the events that befall him throughout the course of this film. There's so much, I don't know, pathos, so much dramatic tension and dramatic irony that he really is. I mean, this is sort of like a mythical tale in a way, and it certainly fulfills the standard of animation I would set because it's just so propulsive. There's so much movement, the cameras, the dialogue. It really is a cartoon, but presented in live action in many ways. There's even some cool like animated psychedelic title sequences and stuff too. So like just a visual treat, but also, something you really have to kind of be primed for if you're going
Yeah.
to appreciate it in the proper context. And I've loved it both times I've seen it.
And another tie-in is Adina Menzel is in this movie, and she's also in Frozen, and she's also a wicked person. So it does match the theme of the podcast.
I guess that was the impetus for including it on the docket for this month, Wicked month potential movies to cover. Because the last one, yeah, Strange Magic with the performance from Kristen Chenoweth. So I was like, what Idina Menzel movie haven't we covered? We've talked about the Enchanted movies in the past. She hasn't done a ton of films, but she did have you know, fairly. I mean, there aren't a ton of main characters in this film. There are a lot of characters, but mostly screen time is held by Adam Sandler and his girlfriend Julia, his mistress. But yeah, his soon-to-be ex-wife Dina is played by Idina Menzel, and it's a fun performance. There's some real interesting sequences of her playing off of Adam Sandler, which I mean I'm curious as to yeah some of her philosophy going into some of these scenes, given the very tortured state of really both of their characters. How was this movie torturous to either of you? It's a very frenetic, kind of stressful, high tension Safdie brothers film, it's a crime drama. Uh, Jody, I know you didn't rewatch it immediately before coming on this episode, but you've been brushing up on some things and you have seen it in the
Yeah, I
past.
saw it
Yeah.
originally in theaters, and I actually went into it blind, having no idea the heart attack I was about to have, like following his little gambling addiction story and just like the journey of highs and lows that he takes. And I remember leaving the theater literally exhausted after this movie because I was so caught up in this chase and all the things that were going on for him, and then like the ending, which I mean, spoiler alert, how it ends. Like I think I just sat there with my mouth agape, and I sort of was like, I'm never watching that movie again. I hated it. And then like 2 weeks later I was still thinking about it a little bit. So to me that strikes me as like it was a memorable good movie. And so today I sort of just watched the summary of it and a few people's reviews of it, and I was like, I mean, it's a good movie. It's not a movie I like, but it's filmed really well. You can feel the tension, you can feel the stress, you can feel the claustrophobia. So I'm more curious. Yeah, Bridget, what did you think?
So I didn't love it. It's not, so I actually never saw it. I remember when it was on Netflix and I was just like, I don't know, like I like Adam Sandler, but I was like, this isn't a movie that speaks to me. It's not one that I would have picked to watch on my own.
And it's not
So
like
I
an
did watch it
Adam
just for this.
Sandler. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not
Like
like a
he's the main
typical Adam Sandler,
character.
but he's
Yeah.
totally different.
Yeah. And so I was like, so the first like 30 minutes was really hard for me to get through. I was just like, I don't like this movie. I'm really struggling to watch the rest of this movie. I like paused it and I'm like talking to Godfrey and I was like, yeah, I'm just not like loving this. I don't know what it was. Cause like I mean, I love a good, fun
Mhm.
gambling crime movie. That's fun. I watched Goodfellas. That's a fun time movie, and they're doing all kinds of nonsense. But I
Mhm.
was like, man, I just don't like it. He was not a likable character. I was like, wow, he
Mhm.
kind of sucks. And I didn't realize that him and his wife were like going through a divorce. So in the beginning, I thought Julia was like his mistress, which maybe she is. Maybe that's part of why they're getting divorced. But I was just like, wow, this guy sucks. Are we supposed to like
Which
this
is
guy? Am I
really
supposed to be rooting for this guy?
frustrating.
Because I don't.
Like, he keeps
And
doing everything wrong.
yeah,
Like, as soon as you think he's catching a break, and you're like, all right, up and up.
yeah. Oh, he has this money. He's going to pay them back. And then
No,
he goes and bets it all. And I was like, what are we doing?
what are we
What are we
doing?
doing? Like, I am not a financial gambler. So, like, I did eventually, like, get more into it and I could finish the movie without, like, peeling my face off. I was able to finish it, but I was just like, wow, he's stupid. I wish he'd stop doing that. So, like, I get the part, like, the whole, like, being anxious during the movie. And I mean, I love a good dopamine hit as much as the next person, but, like, not like that. Like I'll ride a roller coaster. I'm not gonna like gamble my life away and get punched in the face by like loan sharks. Like and so it was like he was just making all the like worst decisions. And he's
I
like he goes to see his daughter at her performance and then manages to also screw that up. And I was just like, what are we doing? Like, how are you a parent? Like how yeah. So I will say the beginning of the movie, I was like, this is gonna be a rough watch. But I did get into it. But I will say it was not my favorite movie, and I did not like Adam Sandler's character at all. And I feel like you kind of like root for him, like as you get closer to the end, because you're like, oh, he is going to get the money, and he is going to turn himself around, and then he gets it, and then it's just like it ends. And I was like, what the? And that I watched a lot of like things after because I was like, I need someone to explain this to me. What did I just watch? Why did it end
Mhm.
like that? Like there was no like resolution. It's just that's how it ends.
I
And I
I
was
don't
like,
know if you
what?
guys saw, sorry. I don't
You're
know.
good.
We've all seen Squid Games, I think. And the character who initially goes in, the main character of Squid Games, I mean, he has a similar life story. It's like you have $100, you somehow spend $200, and when you come upon $200 later, like the natural, normal thing to do is to pay off that debt. Like, so to see someone just consistently, I mean, go through this, and I know he thinks he has this big backup plan with this black opal. And that's sort of what kicks everything off.
That
Um,
isn't black, by the way.
it's
I
not
was like, why
black,
are they
no,
calling it black? It's not black.
but he's like thinking that this is going to solve all his problems and his gambling debts. And not even like 10 minutes into the movie, he gives it off to Kevin Garnett. Like he loans it to someone. And I'm like, this was like the key to your survival. This was the key to you getting out of all your problems. And you're gonna trade it for like a ring for one game. Like this is not gonna go well. But yeah, frustrating. I mean, Philip, you said you
Yeah.
liked it. Like, what do you like about it?
Oh, it's so good. It's balm to my tortured soul. The
You know,
anxiety, just
I will
constant,
say
yeah.
one of the reviews that I watched, they were like, "Oh, they were like, I think people who like it, like people who say they didn't like it, it's because they're normal, and the people who do like it, I guess they're not." And I was like, "That's so funny." Not saying that you're not normal, but he was like, "I like this movie, I guess, because I'm not normal," and it made me laugh.
Just the constant heightening and escalation of his addictive tendencies is, yeah, just so fascinating. I mean, it does play off kind of like a typical mob or gangster kind of crime film where, or TV series, Sopranos, Breaking Bad, recently like The Penguin was really good. But it's just an increasingly more perilous set of circumstances that the character finds himself in. And, he's a villainous character ultimately, just very kind of disreputable. And uh, still gets, the audience to kind of be on his side. And the story's told very much from his perspective. Like they're really trying to get you into the world of this kind of degenerate gambler, jewelry dealer in the heart of Manhattan. Another key to this film's frenetic nature, the setting being right in the heart of the
Manhattan.
United
The
States, yeah,
Diamond District.
Oh yeah.
American civilization, the epicenter of it all, yeah, in Manhattan Diamond District. Based inspired, I guess, by some true events and like the directors, Josh and Benny Safdie, they have some experience working for someone like this in the Diamond District. Lot very kind of Jewish centric industry, perhaps, but also this film. The directors are Jewish. It's coming from a very specific perspective and kind of class and socioeconomic perspective.
Yeah. And Adam Sandler is Jewish as well, right?
Yeah, yeah.
In
Yeah.
real life, not his act.
This movie
Hmm.
has a lot to
Yeah.
say. There's a lot of substance here, a lot of um things that just line up in I think just very serendipitous ways, sort of a kismet sense about this film that also kind of gets uh humorously, tragically blown up right at the end when you think everything is coming into its sort of natural climax and denouement of sort of satisfying resolution, but instead there's sort of a backfire effect, sort of foreshadowed perhaps by some of the more um, uh, s- the thematic references foreshadowed earlier in the film, some of the ground laid by like the Passover sequence and the recitation of biblical passages and things like that. So it works very well for me in that sort of symbolic level.
I just thinking about moments that sort of remind me of the ending and kind of like made the ending less of a surprise for me is the scene that I guess like made my heart drop or my jaw drop the most was when he places that bet and he thinks he's going to win all this money and then he finds out that the bet was pulled out.
Oh yeah.
That part to me, so I think this is probably mid-movie. Like I said, it's been a while since I've watched it, but he does like some type of parlay and he's like, "Oh my gosh, like I did it. I won all this money, whatever." And then his father-in-law's like, "Actually, I pulled that bet. Like you didn't win it after all." Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Well, I think
Yeah.
Arno's the one who says he pulls it, and I thought Arno was like his brother-in-law,
Father-in-law.
right? I think
Arno's
he's his
his
brother-in-law.
Arno's his loan shark, but also brother-in-law.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what I was like. I thought he was the brother-in-law because the father-in-law is the one who bets at the auction
Yep.
and like wins the auction. That's his father-in-law. I
Yeah, because
watched it yesterday, so it's fresh.
it's fresher for you. But yeah,
Yeah,
there's
it's
all these
fresh.
moments of like I don't know if this is an inappropriate word, but like edging you. Like I don't know if that's like a word. You know what I'm talking about? Like
I know what you're
you're like
talking about.
almost there, like you're almost there, and then Like it all falls apart, like I said when we first hopped on here. And another thing I remember thinking was super interesting was, you know how the movie starts out with this, it's, I'm guessing in Africa, I don't remember.
They're
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Ethiopia.
Ethiopia, and there's these people like in these horrible working conditions, just like trying to find these gems that like end up in New York City, and it just, and it's like also like I feel like part of the theme is like how like spoiled rotten we are here in the US. Like, do you know what I mean? Like that he's spending his whole life running around like chasing like the next big like $1 million thing while there's people over there in Ethiopia like literally like digging up these gems like dying in the mine. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, yeah, I think it's like it touches really on like, I mean, capitalism. You guys know how I love talking about capitalism. It really does like,
Mm-hmm.
greed, and it's not necessarily like corporate greed, but I mean, a lot of it, like you can literally source uh diamonds made in a lab that do not hurt anyone, do not affect anyone, but those are still marketed as lesser than a real diamond that someone goes and digs out of a mine. And I mean, it kind of that's kind of what he does. He's like, oh, I'm gonna make this gem is gonna be worth $1 million, so I'm gonna pay some poor people who are working in horrible conditions $100,000 to go and risk their lives to get it for me. And so
Yeah.
it's just like,
The
well, I guess
cosmetic.
that's not ethically
Maybe
sourced.
it was like karma catching up with him. Like, I mean, I guess we can just say it. Like at the end of all of this, of him attempting to get out of his debt, he's shot. Like he's shot down dead. And it's sort of like maybe you get what you're coming to, you know? Like people died to get this gem and they didn't get any movie time, and you got all the movie time, and you also get to be dead.
I didn't remember like all the details, of course. It was great, refreshing myself on all of this, having just now rewatched the film. But I was shocked at the fact that it's a double homicide. I don't remember that. I just remember him
Yeah.
dying. You know,
Well,
it's
and I was
just
like,
yeah.
isn't Arno their boss, or is that guy his own thing?
Well, he's just kind of hiring some muscle to deal with this
Mm.
situation because
So they're just
obviously.
like thugs, basically.
Yeah,
Hired.
Howard Ratner is the character played by Adam Sandler, and he's just so obstinate and so uh, unhinged. Yeah, that like the people he owes money just have very little recourse in trying to get a hold of him if he's unwilling to entertain them, and he's at a very precarious point in his life right now. He's got this big. Uh, the auction with the opal that he thinks he is worth way more than actually is, and now it's the Eastern Conference semifinals, which is the series where Kevin Garnett is playing for the Celtics. I mean, crazy that they got this character playing himself. You know, there are several uh celebrities who are kind of playing themselves in this celebrities and quasi-celebrities and athletes. Well, The Weeknd shows up and is playing
Yeah, I love
like,
how it was like before he's like famous.
yeah, yeah, a
Like I
very,
did think that was interesting that it's like in the real world. Like it's in our world, like what's happening. And it's like, oh yeah, the weekend, he's new and upcoming and blah blah
like
blah.
they allow themselves to be portrayed kind of douchey in some ways too.
I mean, he gets in a
It's
literal
very,
fight with the weekend, which is kind of wild to me.
yeah,
And they were all like really good actors. They didn't seem like basketball players acting like basketball players. I remember thinking, man, they're all doing a really great job at this. Like this could be their backup career. But I'm sure they have tons of like media and camera training just from being celebrities that
yeah.
maybe it does come easy. But you know, sometimes you watch a cameo and it sticks out. You're like, ooh, that's not an actor. Their scenes were very, very natural.
Well,
Well,
Julia
I think
Fox
Julia,
is her
yeah, it was
first
her first
feature.
role. Hmm.
No.
She's the one who dated Kanye.
And she's so famous. Yeah. I didn't realize this was her first thing. So she's only kind of been on the scene since 5 years ago.
She seemed like a
Well,
total veteran. I don't get
yeah.
it. Yeah.
Well, and I'm like, I wonder if she's like playing herself though. I don't know what this character's like, but like what or what she is in real life anyway. But like, I I don't even know how she's famous. I don't know if she's like a model or something. But like her being shot to fame was that she was dating Kanye for
Mm,
a little bit after him and Kim Kardashian like divorced.
mm.
And so I was like, I wonder if
Hmm.
she's like kind of playing how she really is a little bit, like kind of using people to your
Oh,
advantage to
Huh.
get to where you want to be. Because I mean, that's kind of what she
Yeah, I don't
did.
know
It's
much
like,
about her at all.
a
yeah, well,
social, yeah, climber,
yeah, like
yeah.
social climbing. Because I mean, that's her whole thing. She was like, oh yeah, like basically she's like working the weekend to get to a better place. And I mean, she's kind of like she says that she loves Howard,
She's
but like she kind of is also using him. He's
Hmm.
has her up in a Manhattan apartment. He's buying her all these things. She gets a job at his job. He's like giving her a job and everything. And then I guess she's also a model and she's like, rubbing elbows with rappers and things. So I'm like, I wonder if she's like using that to advance her status and if
Refresh
well,
she's a little
me.
familiar.
So Julia, her name is Julia in the movie as well, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
Julia, which I thought was fun because like Jules, Julia,
ah,
whatever, gems.
well,
Haha.
Kevin
But
Garnett. I mean, that's his real name,
oh,
and Garnett
yeah.
is a
Oh, perfect.
is a
But
gem.
you guys who just watched it, so after Adam Sandler or Howard is killed, even though he could have done right with his money, although I'm sure he would have just made himself into a higher mess. Julia ultimately ends up with the money. Can you guys remind me, does it say what she does with it, or does it kind of just end? Okay, so my question is,
It's just open ended.
do you
Yeah.
think the cycle will like continue with her of just chaos? Or do you think she'll be like smart?
If I have to assume based on all of the characters, she's gonna
They're
take that
so
money and blow it
they're
or
greedy. They're
oh, and that's
short-sighted.
well, and that's kind of the thing with Howard's character is like you can also see like the greed in the way that he treats people. Because like the only people that he treats with any kind of respect are the people that he can use, the people he can get things from, people who can get money from. There's so many characters that he just straight up like does not pay attention to. Like there was like the guy who brings him the stone, doesn't even act like that guy's existing. When he's opening the box and the guy that works for him is like complaining about getting like roughed up by security, he's like not
Mm.
even paying attention, doesn't care. He like talks really badly to people who are like in service, like, chauffeurs, girls behind the counters kind of thing. And so it's
Yeah.
like, it's very much like also a status thing. So it's like, oh, you're kind of like beneath me. I don't have to respect you or treat you any kind of way because you're not going to do anything for me. And I was like, yeah,
And
I
and
really don't like this character.
they're still able, but like they're still able to kind of have us like rooting for him at the end. Like, and even like in the beginning, sorry, I know we're jumping around a lot. In the beginning, you kind of they zoom in on the gem and they like zoom out on his colonoscopy. Is that sort of the
Yeah.
scene? And you
Mhm.
think he's
Yeah.
gonna have cancer, which you think would be such a wake-up call. Like you're going through a divorce, you might have colon cancer, whatever. And that's like not enough. Like, did he even deserve to be like alive? I mean, he was a complete asshole. I don't
He
know.
Well, he's this black hole of a person. Like, there's so much
Truly.
that, yeah, like revolves around him. And I mean, if, think of a black hole cosmologically. It's actually a very bright object in, the night sky. If you were to look at it, but it's from all the things swirling around it that are just burning up, and it's just this, yeah, he's this. Um, Force of ego that can never be satiated. And so, yeah, it's going to be fascinating. Him, kind of like a high speed car crash in a way. I mean, I say high speed rather than a slow speed car crash that you can't look away from because everything in his vicinity does seem to be also moving at a the frenzied pace in which he operates, because that's just how he's hustling. This is his sort of capitalist mindset that's propelling him to just be this consummate hustler. Yeah, this
Do you
social
think
climber. Mhm.
in life with this type of a personality, because there truly are people like this, do you think it's the money or do you think it's just the high of getting the money? Because like technically
It's
with
the
his
high.
job, it's
It
it's that
has to be.
Yeah.
adrenaline because truly I feel like sometimes I mean these people do have enough to get by. So is it just that energy that they need, that like fear of the loss or hope for the success. Because like
I think
I
it's
don't
like
think I have that.
it's the chase. Well, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, maybe that's part of like why I was so like agitated with the movie in the beginning was that I don't have I've never had an addictive personality. I've never had an addiction. So I'm like I don't quite understand like how a gambling addiction, like what that would feel like. And that's why I kind of likened it to like riding a roller coaster. But with the
Mhm.
difference between that is like I know on a roller coaster that I'm not going to die. Like I get the adrenaline of going really fast, it being kind of scary, but I know it's like, it's simulated danger,
Hmm.
which is fine. But like what he's doing is not. That's like he's living
Hmm.
fast, dying hard kind of thing. Um like he's just so chaotic, but I think that's what it is. It's like he gets money, he goes and makes a bet, he wins money, but he's like not paying any of these bets back until he's like, he's giving them like a little bit at a time to keep them from killing him basically. And that's why he's like he keeps making bigger bets and like crazier bets. And I
Yeah.
guess that's just really like what addiction is like. It's just like, oh, I
Mm,
need the
yeah.
next thing. And eventually it's going to spiral. It's going to continue to build, to build, to build. And
Yeah.
then it's going to spiral out of control. And I think like I saw like a point someone made about the very end is that, he hits like the pinnacle. The pinnacle, he wins $1 million. He did
Hmm.
this huge bet, wins $1 million. He's like, this is the best thing ever. Lets those guys in, huge smile on his face, gets shot in the head. But he dies
And
happy.
he's
He dies
happy.
happy. And when they like
Happy.
zoom into his face, like it kind of just looks like the opal all over again. And someone was like, one of the things that I listened to, they were like, it's almost like in his death, the only thing he's thinking about is the opal and how it got him to this like high, this peak highness that he got from this addiction that he has. He's not thinking about his family. He's not thinking about his girlfriend. He's not thinking about anything he's leaving behind, just the fact that he just won the biggest gamble he's ever done. And it's like, and had he lived, would he have been satisfied? Would he have paid back all his debts? No, he would have kept
Oh,
doing it.
I
And
took
like,
it
if you really
as,
think about it,
yeah, no, I took it as because I'm like, oh, circle of life, like everything's connected, like from the colonoscopy to the gems to outer space, like to his, where does it zoom in? A bullet hole, whatever. So like that's
yeah,
what I
in his
felt like.
face.
But I mean, your explanation that you heard could very much work as well. I mean, the ending is sort of like, well, his death is sort of artistic, so like you can kind of take it
Mm-hmm.
where you want it to go. But I was sort of like, we're all just floating around, whether we're a gem or a poop in the colon, like whatever,
So,
like we're all
Yeah.
yeah, it's
this.
existential. I love it.
Yeah. Are either of you guys gamblers at all? Like, have ever you gone to Vegas or either of you like play poker, anything like that? Okay, yeah, that's.
No, I
No,
don't like losing money. And the thought of losing money makes me not want to do it. So I just don't do it.
But you
plenty
can
of
make so
other.
you can double it. You can double
Yeah, but
it
I
for
could
just.
also lose it all. And
I
that's
have
enough
plenty of
for
other,
me.
yeah, issues. Well, this Julia Fox, she, let's see, apparently was Josh Safdie's muse when he wrote Uncut Gems.
There's a whole clip of her going uncut gems. And I didn't know that was like from all that, but she goes uncut gems.
She's interesting, I guess, like probably a very enigmatic person in that she's on the autism spectrum, so and ha has been diagnosed with obsessive compulsive disorder, and so I'm sure like all these contribute to her just being a very high functioning sort of individual that perhaps operated a bit like yeah, that status um chasing persona of the character Julia in a way, and like the way that so many of these characters are kind of based around extremely real archetypes. It's just such a hyper realistic film. And the dialogue, I mean, the alternative title for Uncut Gems should be overlapping dialogue, because it's just constantly a barrage of um, various characters speaking and interrupting and talking over each other, characters in the background too. It's just it's so cool how they really make it feel like you're living in this real world, and there's not like the hint of the screenwriter's hand at play as is a bit more obvious in most, you know, theatrical, cinematic, or television works.
So, Philip, if you like that type of energy on screen, are you a fan
Mhm.
of The Bear, which I think is
Oh,
on Hulu?
yes.
Okay, because that's another show I really struggle to watch for the same reason that
I
you
don't think I've
like it.
watched that.
I do
Oh,
not
is that
like
the
it.
kitchen one?
Mhm.
Yes, but there's a similar
Okay, I've never
energy, like
watched
what
it.
Philip is describing, like when they're working in that kitchen and just, I think they're in Chicago and they're all talking all over each other. And it's obviously very like directed, but not to the viewer. So like it feels very organic, very fast. And I mean, I talk fast, but not like that. It's such a foreign thing to imagine goons coming after me and chasing me or whatever. But this is how some people live, you know?
Hmm.
Oh, every time that he walked anywhere with anything valuable or money, I was like, he's gonna get attacked. He's gonna get attacked for this stuff. And he never got attacked. He always gets attacked at like the weirdest moments. And I was like, so I it was strange, I will say. But yeah, I was just like, Like it did feel like you were watching like an actual, like someone's actual life. I'm sure there are people who live like that. And it couldn't be
Yeah.
me because I would be too stressed all the time. Like
Yeah.
that, I was like, why is this guy not more stressed out? We never saw him like doing drugs or anything. So I'm like, I would be stressed all the time. I'd be looking over my shoulder, which I guess he kind of is. Like he notices the guys at his daughter's show. And so I'm like, I guess he kind of is being watched all the time and he does know that, but he just doesn't care because maybe he's just riding the high, the gambling high. Because even like, honestly, I feel like him potentially maybe having cancer, because that's what his dad died from, is also like a gamble. It's
Mm.
another gamble he won. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And that's when the doctor's like, oh, yeah, you're fine. He's like, oh, okay, bet. Like, you never, like, after that colonoscopy, he was never like, oh, I could have cancer. He wasn't worried. He was just like, yeah, gotta go gamble, gotta go make some more money. And then he's like, oh, you don't have cancer. You're good. And he's like, okay, cool. I'm back to fighting with people about money.
Yeah. Very
So, yeah,
much
it
in
was,
the vein of the bear. Yeah, the ADHD you know, sensibility kind of, and did I mention Julia Fox has that listed on her IMDb trivia uh
Oh, really?
as well.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be
OCD,
surprised in that.
ADHD. No, but
Those are all very
not
like
to
comorbid disorders.
pick on her. Obviously, it's just kind of funny, just the parallel, with this film and the overall aesthetic. Yeah, I'm trying to think of other things that there are some movies that like I've noticed just how you know unconventional they seem in how conversational everything seems. One movie was I think directed by Paul Greengrass, the film United 93 about events that went down during 9/11, and there's like traffic control at an airport, and everything is just so people are constantly stammering and talking over each other, and the dialogue's just ultra naturalistic in that film. Um, Interesting considering it's depicting just these very traumatic events that played out in the real world, and it is like you're watching almost yeah, surveillance footage of of everything going on. I mean, it's filmed like a traditional cinematic film, but just the way everything is just so documentary in its capturing of how people actually act in real life. Um, so that's one example, I think, of sort of a similarly constructed film. But yeah, I don't know. The Bear, yeah, a few other things that just kind of have the crime story, keeping the audience on edge. Um, Conceit like Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, similar kind of
The
virtues in
Wolf of
these.
Wall Street.
Oh, Wolf of Wall, yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
like the swearing too.
Oh,
Tarantino in
yes.
some ways,
I'm
like
pretty
his.
sure FU was like the most said thing in this whole movie. F word was like number one. I would not be surprised.
But yeah, I'm not gonna try to rack my brain too hard for examples of other works that I find, overly similar. But I don't know, even like what has drawn me to a lot of like quality animation over the years, Disney animation studios and Pixar, like they have such naturalistic characters and well-crafted dialogue, those films. and Frozen even I just like how punchy and conversational everything is. You feel like these are real characters, and you don't question the dialogue choices. If you feel
I think I
soup,
avoid
yeah,
those shows at all costs. So like I can't think of anything either. Like all the things you listed, Breaking Bad, all those things when I give them a try, I'm adverse to it.
but
So I can't
even
imagine working on a movie like this
yeah,
or scripting a movie like this. I would just go nuts. I think actually one thing I did read was Jonah Hill was like originally going to be Howard.
yeah,
I
Hmm.
but then he had
Interesting.
another project or he stepped down. I'm not always sure how that works. Um, I think he would have done a good job in it as well. I was
I don't feel like he's
um
old enough. Like I feel like Howard makes sense. I'm like he's like old, older.
well, maybe they would have like tweaked it a little bit, but if you see him in not Wolf of Wall Street, but get him to the Greek where they're
mm,
trying to
Hmm.
get have you guys seen that one?
Hmm.
Where they're
I
trying
have
to
not.
get this superstar to his concert and it's like his job and he's very frantic and very stressed and very
Mm.
I think he would have done a good job as well. But I really do like seeing Adam Sandler in this type of role. I really do not like him in the like early 2000 comedy style roles. I do not like that at all.
I see.
I like
That's the Adam Sandler I like. I like funny Adam
oh
Sandler. And so this, I mean, I just honestly like watching him. I was like, this is Adam Sandler, but it was like not fun Adam Sandler. It's like seeing Steve Carell in serious roles. I'm like, you're not funny.
oh, I
I
was just
don't
gonna say
like
I
that.
really liked him in there was a movie Beautiful Boy where his son is a drug
Uh,
addict and Steve
uh,
Carell is the father. And it's very touching and very emotional and he does such a great job. I mean, you just want to hug him every scene and like
mm.
but it was a similar thing where you look at him and you're like, wait, Steve Carell. But you break through that. And I feel like, I mean, Adam Sandler clearly is like very talented because I saw him as Howard for sure.
Uh, yeah, the certain movies kind of just go hard all the way, and you feel like you need a cigarette afterwards.
Oh yeah, after
Sometimes,
that one, I was like, yeah, I'm stressed for all of us actually. Like I could not live
uh,
in that kind of like financial stressful situation. I would lose it.
I would think Wicked would have a lot. Well, even I rewatched the original Gladiator, and I mean it's not paced like this film, but it goes hard in the sense that it's just so epic in its scope and um, transcendent in its meditations on just all aspects of humanity. And so there's just a lot to digest with some of these tales. And even, Wicked, I would expect nothing less from that. It's just
Oh,
this epic
you're not
ex
allowed to talk about it yet, Philip.
exploration, yeah, of the human psyche. But yeah, and I love these kinds of things. As long as you kind of pace yourself when consuming and kind of bracing yourself for these kinds of stories because they can be a lot. Um,
Well, I was just thinking, I'm thinking out loud here because I'm thinking of like the Gladiator soundtrack and like the sounds that go along with it. And
mhm.
since I haven't seen Uncut Gems in a while, what is this? Is there like a soundtrack with like fast-paced music or is it mostly just like horns honking? Is there any type of
There
It's
is
a
synth,
synth,
but
yeah, it's very like Giorgio Moroder style music.
it's
It's
very
very synthy.
2012. The synth was real popular back then.
Okay.
At
I mean, it
least that's what it felt like.
reminds me of like Blade Runner or Tron. I love the sort of Tron aesthetic of the synth, um, and the electronic music soundtrack. And the choice of end credit song was kind of fun. L'amour
What is it?
toujours. Doon doon doo 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 doo. Dun, 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 dun.
It almost
Know
felt a
that
little
one?
too upbeat at the end. I was like, this
It's
is weird.
it's just yeah, a licensed song that was popular. I guess L'amour toujours was released in July 2000, so came on the pop scene in the early 2000s. But then they cut to that at the end of this film. Just kind of fun to have something recognizable as the end
Yeah,
credits.
I looked it up just out of like curiosity, and mostly electronic music.
Mm.
But they said that they used Moog's synthesizer library to kind of make like
Yeah.
an earthy, melancholic sound that had like a cosmic twist. Because everything's like, they're all like they all think this rock has like this gem is so magical,
Yeah.
and it has like this whole like backstory about how it was used back in the day, and everyone worships this gem and whatever. And then Kevin Garnett is convinced that he's seen the universe and he needs this to do well. And so it's like they kind of
Oh,
guess wanted to play into like I guess the gem and its
it's
mysteriousness.
yeah, it's a magical idol like MacGuffin from, an Indiana Jones movie or something. It's got that mystique about it. I love that element. And yeah, the this fact that it is sort of the secret weapon that is the one thing kind of holding Howard's life together because everything else for him is just so up in the air and everything is kind of collapsing around him, even at the point where it seems like he's just about to clinch a victory. But yeah, when he finds out that his initial bet had been pulled, or like the moment when well, the hilarious inserts that they put into the program for the auction saying that his item has been appraised downward by $500,000. And he's threatening to pull out all the inserts, or he's trying to con his way into pulling out all the inserts.
And
But then
even
hiring
there,
his, yeah,
like having his father-in-law comes in, tries to bid him up to
almost
kind of like
succeeds.
increase. Yeah, but then he gets so
Yeah.
greedy.
I'm telling
This
you,
was
it's
so
all about
perfect.
greed.
I
Greed will
know.
kill you.
This is the
Yeah.
best comedy in years.
I was gonna say it is comedic because it is just like, of course, that would be how he plays.
And
Even when he has those guys locked up in the people who
it's
are after him
so
trying to kill him, he has
ridiculous.
them locked up, and he still needs to go make one more bet.
He
One
should
more bet.
know. I love that character's name is Phil, though. That's great. Is named after me. The who Howard should obviously know he should not be within, you know, 20 miles of this character as, you know, as soon as humanly possible. Well, that I don't know what the deal is with that door. If he could just have let them out the other way so that he didn't
Yeah.
have to.
I wondered that. I was like, why didn't he just let them out of the other door? Because they have like the lock for both doors. So I was like, why did he let them in? Maybe to celebrate. He was like, oh, they're not gonna
They're
want
gonna
to kill
forgive.
me because they know I'm gonna have $1.2 million. And
Well,
then he
that's
lets
what
them in
I
and they
thought.
just kill
Like
him. And I was
you
like, that
were,
was weird.
I would have done if I were Phil. I after being forced to sit in that sweaty room for 2.5 hours,
That would have
I'd
killed him too,
go,
probably.
yeah, I'd go postal on Howard's ass too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Well, and the fact that he killed Arno as well. And I was like, why? What is happening? And he's like, you know what? We're just going to steal everything. I really hope they stole the Furby chain. I
yeah.
want, I,
But why are they stealing everything when they know the police are coming? Like they know the police are going to be there, right? Am I remembering
probably
that
because,
Well,
correctly?
Phil, yeah, they're thugs. They're
yeah, they're
these
criminals. Like
mafiosos. Yeah, you can
they'll
see
just
just
sell it on the black market or something.
yeah that the actor who plays Phil is just excels at delivering eyes that just
Bad guy energy.
penetrate with death. Yeah, you just see the death on his face, the murderous intent. It's obviously I could never do obviously I would never do that, but like once he gets that gaze and that you know instinct towards Howard, you realize like there's no going back to this character, regardless of this euphoric outcome. But I mean, I love the moments with the helicopter pilot too. He's hitting
Yeah, Wayne.
Wayne, and you think he's actually gonna kind of get um a break after being this obnoxious pervert, but then Julia realizes, oh, she has to rely on his uh propositioning just to get out of her tricky situation. Like I love that whole scenario as well, and the way things connect in
Well, I
you
still
know,
wonder if that like plays into her like using people.
it's
Because
just
she's like, oh,
so.
I know this guy's into me and I don't want anything to do with him, but I could use this. I could use this. And then she gets in the limo
Mhm.
and she's like, all right, get out of here. I'm never talking to that man again.
Yeah, it's so synchronistic. I love it.
I just would have been intrigued. And I know that they like leave it as it is so that we don't know, but I'd love to know like the aftermath. What
Me,
happens? Like, what happens to Dinah and the kids? What, like,
probably happier. Like if he had a life insurance policy,
yeah.
the
I
amount
mean,
of
yeah, if he
stress
had
he
life
put on
insurance.
Adina Menzel, like
I don't know
she
though. Does he have insurance? He likes to gamble. Like, I
he
mean, he might
better
own his
have like
business, you would
if
think,
you live
but
a life like that and you do not have life insurance for your kids and for your wife, you are just bad. A
I don't
bad, bad.
know. Howard didn't seem like the best. Or like, what did Julia do with the money? Does she like take it? Does she give it to his family? Does she run off with it? Does she
No,
keep
I
it?
think
Does she
you're right. I
blow
think
it?
she's just as greedy. I think she's gonna blow it. I
Yeah.
think like that money and that jewel, I think they're all tainted and they have bad juju, voodoo, and whoever comes in contact with it is just gonna have chaos reign. And maybe we just leave the jewels in the mine next time.
Yeah.
Maybe we don't have
I don't know.
people
I
dig.
mean, it helped Kevin Garnett. I guess it worked out for
Oh, did
him.
it? Like I know he
Well,
won the
he
game, but
won
like
his game.
he really, really wanted it, didn't he?
Yeah, he seemed to have a
Well,
connection to it. I don't know.
well, a part of it though, I was like, did he make sure he won so Howard didn't get murdered? I was curious because he was
He
like,
was
dude, what
just
are you doing? What are you doing, my guy?
no, I think he was just performing, as normal. But yeah, since it was
He had his little pep talk before the game.
yeah, it was a very important game, so he was trying to, do what he could to, yeah, get deliver a favorable outcome, given it was the playoffs. So he was playing his heart out, and it helped that he had this new token of fascination.
It just
Uh,
reminds me of the SpongeBob episode where they're like, magic conch. That's how it was.
Magic,
Magic
yeah.
stone.
There's another thing that's kind of like that. My mom would read me this book about like the magic ballet shoes, and when the little girl wears the magic ballet shoes, and then she's like, "Oh, it's like Dumbo when Dumbo holds the feather and he thinks he can fly,
oh,
but
I
it
love
wasn't really
that.
the feather. Like Dumbo could fly all along." That's Kevin Garnett. You don't need the rock.
You didn't need
You
the
don't
rock, Kevin
need the
Garnett.
feather. You can do this. Save
You
your
like
hundred
Kevin
and
Garnett?
seventy thousand dollars or whatever he like offered to pay.
It was 175, but he gave him 165 because he had to give like a percentage to Damani,
Okay.
his his friend that he also
Right.
kind of screwed
Oh
over.
yeah, Lakeith Stan. Yeah, we haven't really talked about Lakeith Stanfield. Yeah. He connects KG with Howard, and yeah, it's kind of I mean he's shat on by Howard in many ways and even stolen from. But you got the counterfeit Rolexes, one of Delaney's or what's his name?
It was Damani.
Damani, one of his side hustles is selling watches
Oh yeah, because he
and
gives one of those fake Rolexes to the guys trying to get money back from him,
Howard,
and then the guy
yeah.
shows up and he's like, I can't use a fake Rolex. Like, what are we doing?
He's giving them out as payment on the loans that he's taken.
Ugh.
Uh, um,
Oh, oh, so the guy who flew the helicopter, his name is Wayne Diamond, and he's a fashion designer.
oh yeah, yeah,
I
he's
like
like
in real life. I didn't know that. Like he looks like that in real life.
it's
That's
one
what
of
that man
those
looks like.
one of these
Huh.
cameos, these
He's
celebrity cameos. Yeah.
quirky. I didn't know. I just thought he was a weird, quirky character. I had no idea that was a real person.
No. Uh,
I love how like deep all this goes because I was like, I didn't realize that that was a real person. That's really
but
funny.
Idina Menzel, as Dina's capable of seeing through the whole facade, so she's
She
kind of
put
the
up with it
one.
for long enough. And how odd that like they didn't tell their kids or they were just like pretending to be a family to not
Yeah, it's
expose.
well, they haven't divorced yet. Like, because she was like intending on divorcing him after Passover was done. They just hadn't like told the kids that they were
Why?
separated.
Why
I
after
don't,
Passover?
probably because there's so much like family stuff, maybe part
Mm.
of the religion. I don't know. I don't know exactly. Which I didn't realize she was also Jewish in real life.
Oh,
Yeah, I didn't realize that. I was like, honestly though, she played like Long Island wife so well. I was like, I've seen her play many characters, but not that. Not Long Island wife.
Uh, yeah, something of a Jewish parable. This film. I mean, everything revolves around this family and kind of this tragic um, child of immigrants and this person, new money, always striving to belong. I guess that's one of the themes that's been stated by Benny and Josh Safdie, the theme of belonging. Um, so
have they directed anything else that we might have heard of?
Good Time with Robert Pattinson was their previous feature. Um,
I
I
can
don't
never
think I've
tell.
watched
Is
any other movies by them.
A24 like alternative? I mean, it's like mainstream alternative. Do you know what I mean? Like another
Yeah.
just with the trailer, but A24, it's just known for doing kind of different things.
Yeah. Like they did like Ex Machina and Lady Bird and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
They did everything everywhere all at once.
Ah, they did. Okay, I
They
really
do
like that.
like kind of
Offbeat, yeah,
quirkier movies.
quirky.
Yeah. Well, they did Hereditary. That was a wild movie
Yeah.
in a different way.
Yeah, very different.
Yes.
it's sort of an indie. I mean, it's very much an indie film that they were able to secure funding long after they had initially conceived the idea. Co-wrote it with one collaborator as well, and initially approached Sandler's agent about him potentially taking the role, but were rejected without Sandler even seeing the project. And after Sandler saw Good Time, I think he reached back out to the Safdies and said he was very interested in this kind of subject. But yeah,
How frustrating would it be to be someone who has the script or whatever, and you know that this performer would be a great performer for the lead, but you have to like get through the agent because if you can't get through the agent, and the actor's never going to see it, and like that'd be very, very hard.
Well, I'd be annoyed like as the actor to like say they used someone else and the movie like did well and then you find out that you were actually offered it but your agent didn't tell you. I'd be really annoyed.
But I suppose they get so many things that you just have to do it that way. Because I mean, what are you going to do? Your full-time job can't be like reading through scripts and determining whether or not you can do it. But wow, yeah, that would have been a missed opportunity if like he went to it in theaters and he's like, wow, damn, that was a great movie, Uncut Gems. And they're like, actually, they wanted you to be in that movie, but we just didn't think you would like it.
Well, I'm kind of curious to know what he got paid for it because I was looking into it and apparently the budget for this movie was only like 19 million, which is like pretty small today in like film
Yeah.
money. So I'm curious to know like how much he got paid or if he like took a hit because he liked the movie or like took less, you know. Because he's worth like
Oh,
$420 million. He's worth a lot of money.
yeah. I mean, I was gonna say I think Ariana Grande got like $15 million for doing Wicked, which would be like the whole budget for Uncut Gems. Just
uh,
Ariana.
let's see. One of the other themes was cheating God. Kind of funny.
Eating God. Oh,
Cheating
like
God.
on death and
Yeah, just yeah,
On
trying
everything.
to take more out of life than what you're given ultimately. Yeah, because Sandler's just this, yeah, he's a voracious character, just constantly leaving sort of wreckage in his
He's like
wake.
testing luck, always like
Yeah,
testing luck, really maxing it out as much as possible. Because like even when he's losing, he's still not being murdered, which is
yeah,
surprising. Which when I get it, I'm like, I guess it makes more sense for like people like loan sharks and stuff to keep you alive than it is to kill you because they do want that money back, especially when
mm,
because he owed his brother-in-law like $100,000. So it's like, I
well,
mean, I guess it made sense why they didn't just straight up kill him.
I will say one thing on Squid Games, he owes a lot of money to loan sharks and they're chasing him down. And ultimately, if someone owes them like X amount, doesn't pay them back, they harvest their organs and sell them on the black
yeah.
market. And I'm
In
like,
Squid
I mean,
Games, or do they? Is that what
in
happens in the
Squid
show?
Games. I don't
Okay.
know if that happens in real life, but
I
like
don't
eventually they're like,
either.
okay, you owe me 100,000. You haven't paid me for 2 years. Like, because like
Give
what
me a
you're saying is
kidney.
like, oh, you better keep him alive because at least he can give you some money. Well, in Squid Games, it's like, nah, at that point, we're just going to sell you for parts. You know what I mean?
I
So,
mean, it's not a bad business structure, I guess.
Yeah.
ugh.
So Squid Game, an apt parallel for this film, I thought, and I very much enjoyed Squid Game.
The sequel comes out December 26th. Like the second season, I guess, not the sequel. I don't know what you call it when it's a series.
Yeah, I was tempted to do an episode on Squid Game. I don't necessarily know if I'd want to rewatch the entire
I just
series.
rewatched it, so it's
Oh,
fresh in my
wow.
mind. Yeah,
Cool.
I liked it a lot.
Yeah, that actor was just in Star Wars Acolyte, the
Oh,
lead
really?
Squid Game. Um, yeah, so as we kind of wind down, you're saying like the characters, why aren't they more vengeful toward Howard, the loan shark? Like Arno being family is like
Yeah.
it's not meant to be like this serious heavy mob boss or anything. He's more just kind of a business associate, but yeah, he's got
Yeah, when I
this
found that they were related, I was like, okay, this makes a little bit more sense why he's like, oh, don't kill him. Just like take his underwear. Uh, and when
and
he threw him in the car, he was like, I want his underwear too. I was like, oh, that's messed up. Could at least left him with the underwear.
yeah, convenient that they put him in his own car with his phone too, so he can easily call for help. But yeah, just the humiliation of it, having to come back into the play
In
wearing
different clothes.
sweats. Yeah,
Yeah. So I
uh,
was like, when I found out it was when they had the dinner, and I was like, oh, they're related. That's weird. Like, I
yeah,
don't know if they said that beforehand and maybe I just missed it, but I was like, okay, that makes more sense why they haven't just straight up murdered him yet.
Yeah, that tracks. Like,
Yeah. But there was other people coming after him too, though. But I guess like I don't know, maybe he's just because he's always played kind of fast and loose, which I assume that he had. His character arc seems like that. Like maybe it was just like, oh yeah, like he may be good for it, but we're just gonna have to hassle him until he gives us something. It's like the vibe
yeah,
I
rough him
got
up a
from
little
all
bit.
of the people going after him the whole
yeah.
time.
Interesting. Blade, the helicopter rental service does not seem to have been around in 2012. Maybe an anachronism here.
They needed to get her there quickly.
There might have been something similar in existence at the time. But yes, it's Uber for helicopters. And I mean, you would really only see that in the major. I mean, I don't even remember if they had it in LA, but maybe. Let's see. Yeah, Blade.
There's Heliflight. It's private helicopter charter in New York City.
Yeah,
I don't know
Blade.
when they started,
I don't
but
know. According to this Wikipedia, Blade Air Mobility, urban mobility platform aviation
oh,
company headquartered in New York City, but was founded in May of 2014. So that kind of makes more sense to me. Like I was kind of surprised. I didn't even catch that the first time I saw the movie that he was renting from this like Uber for helicopters. But Uber didn't exist back in 2012 either. So um, it's
yeah, I did find one called Blade New York City, which is a
yeah,
helicopter charter in New York City, but I can't find when it started.
yeah. I don't
That's
know.
interesting.
You know,
No, and I mean, I didn't even like honestly, like with all of it, and I'm like, and especially if you have like money, I was like, maybe
mhm.
that's just like something I've never heard of. I don't have renting helicopter money, I don't
No.
guess.
Yeah,
And they don't do
just
that
a
here anyway.
creative license, I guess, for this film. Yeah, I mean it had been endless parade of kind of trash from Adam Savler, leading up to this film, and I mean, occasional, more positively reviewed, critically reviewed films here and there, but there had been just such a long stretch where he'd kind of become a bit of a laughing stock, or just kind of seen as a cynical purveyor of real cheap and low effort movies, straight to Netflix films.
Well, he had
Yeah.
that whole thing with Netflix where they like gave him so much money and he made all those movies for them.
Obviously, he was a key
Um,
partner. Yeah.
yeah, and I he made like millions of dollars off of that deal. But because I do remember, and I think I was like, I probably just assumed Uncut Gems was like just a part of that. I didn't even realize that it ever come out in theaters.
Hmm.
Because I did watch, out of all the movies that came out on Netflix, I did watch The Cobbler, which I did think was cute. It was an Adam Sandler movie. But
Mhm.
everything else, I was like, yeah, I don't really care to watch any of these. It's just another like, Adam Sandler movie where all his friends are in it.
No, yeah, the Happy Madison um
Production company.
imprint, yeah, that's nowhere near this film, really. It's
Hmm.
if there is Happy Madison involvement, it purely probably be just his own presence being in the film. But I don't think there is even that. I
I
think
didn't
he
see anything
purely as an
when I watched it
actor.
yesterday. Yeah, there was
Yeah.
no like, because that would have been like at the beginning when everything else happens, and I didn't see anything.
So yeah, Adam Sandler, kind of a different, but very, I don't know. He should do more stuff like this. He's done a few serious roles still, in the recent memory. But so this is the Meyerowitz stories was the name of the film that he did, or that was a bit more serious. And then Benny Safdie, I think his next film is going to be starring The Rock. It's like the Smasher or something. Yeah, it's okay, Adam Sandler, he was in the Meyerowitz stories with Noah Baumbach as the director. Noah Baumbach, kind of prestigious director of he did the Marriage Story film on Netflix. So
Is that the one with Adam Driver?
Adam Driver, Scarlett Johansson, yep,
Okay,
yep.
I've never watched it, but I've just seen the all the memes and stuff that came off of that. That's how I know about most things. It's like if I haven't actually seen it, it's memes and reels
Me.
Yeah.
of them screaming at each other.
The Safdies have collaborated on a few TV shows as well, but they're no longer directorial partners. But yeah, the Smash, what's this movie called? The Smashing,
Pumpkins?
yes, the Smashing with Dwayne The Rock Johnson in a serious role.
Interesting. Smashing Machine.
Yeah, Machine. There we
Huh.
go.
Oh, he's
Thank
like a
you.
boxer. Okay.
Yes,
It's like a sports drama.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. Yeah, he's playing like a former wrestler and mixed martial artist. And Emily Blunt's his wife. Interesting. Interesting. Also, it's going to be done by A24 as well.
so this is the end of our episode on Uncut Gems. Thank
You're
goodness,
cutting,
because
you're cutting our Uncut Gems convo?
I'm totally spent. I mean, appropriately considering the nature of this just total uh panic attack of a movie, but because of my
Yes.
own ADHD sensibilities in a way, I find it kind of soothing. I guess what don't they give was it Adderall to like ADHD
Yeah.
individuals? Okay,
Yep.
and
That's what
that's
I took.
it's sort
Huh.
of totally incongruous in a way. It's like it's an inverse of what Adderall normally does as a drug because it's like a stimulant, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
what basically what Adderall does to like real people is what like people that don't have ADHD. That's how I would explain that movie to someone.
Yeah,
It's like if you didn't have it and you took one, because I think if you don't have it, based on what I've heard, it chills me out and helps me
yeah,
focus. But people I know who have done it who don't need it, it does the complete opposite. It speeds you up. You can't
yeah.
sleep. All you can do is like do. You're kind of like on speed almost, is how I've heard it explained. And that's like honestly, that's how this movie was, I think.
Pharmacological contradiction there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, good. I want this one to be done because I want everyone to go and get a good night's sleep and go to Wicked so that when we come back next week, we can
We
talk
can
for
all cry.
14 hours. You guys got to
Yeah.
carve out a good chunk of time for Wicked. I'm telling you, 2 hours.
We'll do well, it's a 2 hour 40 minute film, I think. So three
So we have to
hours.
match. Yeah,
Yeah.
we have to
Yeah, we
match.
got to match it to the minute.
Oh, as far as like our episode, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
we can spend a little more time on that. I
Okay,
this
five
maybe went
five
a little
hours.
A
This may
strenuous deep dive.
this episode maybe got a little more of a deep dive than I was anticipating, but it was good. I had a lot of fun. But I have the tendency to want to ramble and go into all kinds of different tangents. So apologies for that, you guys. But Jody, you haven't said quite as much, and you're not as enthusiastic
It's
about this film.
no, it's just not as fresh for me anymore, but I will say upon reflection, I like it. I would tell someone to see it because it is very different from most movies that I watch. It really does stand out as something memorable.
Hmm.
So if it's still on Netflix, like pull it up, give it a
It's
watch
not.
if you haven't already.
I
No,
rented
I
it.
looked everywhere. Yes, I also rented it because I could not find it. And I was like, dang, I should have watched it when it was on Netflix.
I'll be happy to take more of a back seat on the Wicked episode. And this was kind of I appreciate y'all for indulging me on this one. Hopefully the sound is all right. I've been getting USB static in my ear this whole episode, but I think that's more of just a cable, an electronics issue with some of the cabling and not an acoustical uh, artifact that feeds through on the actual recording. You guys can't hear anything odd coming over my
No.
audio. Yeah.
No. But even if it is something odd, maybe we really tap into an ASMR niche where people like that static, they like that fuzz,
I
and
can
they tune in for it, actually.
I
Yeah.
can try to
Like
filter
this
it
is
out as much.
Uncut
Yeah.
Gems with the
Oh
fuzzy
yeah.
Uncut Gems.
And then we tap our little fingernails together.
Yeah. We hold up something and we click it.
It is appropriate for this episode because yeah, I've had this almost like tinnitus effect going on in my ear the whole time. Thankfully, it's in both of my ears. It's a stereo effect,
At least you
but
get both. Yeah. It's not going to throw you off balance. So you get both ears.
it's super irritating. I'm really upset that my computer's doing it, and I was trying each of the USB ports on that side of the computer. I have one more on the opposite side that I'll have to try out, but like maybe it'll resolve itself upon a reboot. That probably would have solved it, but I didn't have time to reboot my computer.
Well, you would have
Yeah.
had 8 minutes
No, I was
while we were
working on
waiting.
I had been procrastinating. I was like I got home from work a little late and was trying to cram some dinner. I hadn't eaten much today and yeah, so sorry guys. I've been a total Howard Ratner. And I think sort of the
You were
symmetry
doing too much.
with like the naming too. I think all this stuff is very intentional, especially with a movie like this. Like, he's Ratner because he's kind of a rat of a man, you know?
And like you said earlier, Garnett because of the, oh wait, no.
Julia and Garnett.
I mean, Garnett, that's his real, he's a real
No, I
person.
know that's
It
the
is his
joke. That's
name.
the joke. That's the
Yeah,
joke.
obviously.
That's why they picked
No.
him. They were like, all right, we need a basketball player who's going to fit with the gyms. So we got to keep it with the gyms.
There's another movie I saw recently where a character had like a rat name, or a show or something. Um,
All I can think of is Peter Pettigrew, and that's not it. Um,
yeah, all the characters had mostly like beautiful names except for oh shoot. Yeah.
was it
I
Strange Magic?
I don't think so. Roland, no. Just like
Bog
he was
King. Everyone's
Bog
Marianne, whatever, and
Marion.
then Bog King.
Yeah.
I don't
Oh,
know.
what it might have been Gladiator because
Hmm.
Maximus is he's the
Horse.
hero. No,
Oh.
Maximus, yeah, he's the um and
They use a horse of something.
Marcus Aurelius is the good emperor who dies, and he's replaced by Commodus, who's like the name kind of reminds you of commode. He's a lousy, yeah, dumpy son who's not
Oh
worthy.
yeah. That's Joaquin Phoenix's character.
Yeah, he's the bad
Yeah.
emperor.
I haven't watched that movie in a million years, so I'm like, I feel like I should watch that again. But yeah, everyone has cool names though. They have like Cicero and Proximo and Lucius,
Yeah,
Lucilla, and then you have Commodus.
yeah, yeah.
Commodus.
Um,
That's all I can think of now.
I
Thank you.
thought there was a rat something in there somewhere, but I'll
I don't
think
know.
of it another day. I think last episode on Strange Magic, I was trying to think of another time when a character had a very obviously telegraphed heel turn, kind of like Roland, and of course it's revealed very like within the opening minutes of the film that Roland is not a trustworthy character. So it's kind of
He's a
forgiven
bad guy.
there, yeah. Even though like as soon as you see him, you can tell, oh, this guy is like full of himself, you know. He's unlikable. But and then in that Transformers 1, there's another character who's revealed to be a villain, not Megatron, but like the guy who's portrayed as like the hero of the society. And you know, everyone idolizes him, but you kind of just get the sense that he's kind of full of it. And yeah, he turns out to be a charlatan later on in the film. But that's also kind of revealed midway through instead of being like this big dramatic reveal too. So we kind of forgive it for that. All right. Well, hopefully I've been sounding okay on this recording. I'm using my home computer this time, and we'll see how it goes. But this was fun time chatting regardless, however the episode turns out. Any final thoughts before we sign off, starting with Jody?
Let's just talk about Wicked is my final thoughts,
Yeah,
but nice chatting about it.
perfect. Bridget?
Um, Greed is bad. This movie's weird. Yeah, that's how I feel about it. Honestly, I finished watching it and I was like, that was weird. And because Gabriel's like, oh, how what? He didn't end up watching it because he was working. He's still working. He's working back here. That's why it's dark in
Uh,
here. He can't hear, but he was like, yeah, how was it? Did you like it? And I was like,
No.
it was weird. Like at the beginning, I didn't like. The rest of it was fine, but then yeah, afterwards, I was just like, I don't know what I just watched. I was like, I
I
need someone
like
to
that
explain to me
Philip
what I
like
watched. Yeah, I was like, well, because he was like, oh, I like this movie so much. So I was like, oh, it's gonna be cool. And then I was like, this is a weird movie. So
Philip,
yeah,
you were
it's
a
uh,
weird.
weird guy to make us
Yeah,
watch this
weird
movie.
man.
yeah, guilty as
But
charged.
yeah, movie's weird.
Yeah,
Movie's
and what?
weird. Greed's bad. So yeah, that's my thoughts. Those are my thoughts.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And yeah, as I sat down and watched it, like I was thinking. I had seen in my searching on Google for the listing, like it was only an hour and 45 minutes. So I wasn't going into this thinking this to be a marathon of a running time. But after the fact, I saw, oh, 2 hours and 15 minutes. Oops, this was a little longer than I had thought.
Maybe that's why the
Uh,
first 30 minutes was so long. I was like,
but
geez, I've only watched 30 minutes of this movie. I don't know if I'm gonna make it.
it didn't feel that for me though. I was totally
No.
in it.
After
Um,
the first like 30 minutes, it like was like boom, 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 boom. But man, I was the first like the beginning when they were building everything, I was like, wow, this is taking a minute.
yeah, yeah.
Even though it's like
Well.
chaotic, but it was long in the beginning for me.
Uh, some raw and uncut, just like this episode, and
Yeah.
and we'll sign off here now on the Thodcast Conversations about Animation. I'm Philip. Follow us at Thodcast on socials, thodcast.com. I'm at Philip Elke on socials. Bridget, I don't know, you want to share your social
You
handle?
can find me on Instagram. It's Bridget5246. That's Bridge with a T 5246.
Beautiful.
And I'm gonna drop my TikTok because I need like a lot of good vibes on there. So please vibe me up. It's
Yes.
Jody, Jodi Pulaski, Polasky 47. And don't say anything weird about anything on TikTok.
Don't say anything weird about anything weird, okay?
Yes.
Unless it's Uncut Gems. You can say weird
Yes.
things about that.
Exactly.
All right. Well, on this episode about some pretty heavy and dark material. May you all have a magical day. Have a wonderful week. We'll be back with Wicked. It's Wicked Month on the Thodcast. Warm hugs, everybody.
This really was the perfect episode for Thanksgiving. Uncut
Oh,
Gems.
yeah. Happy Thanksgiving. I didn't even mention.
I got my
The
little.
perfect Thanksgiving episode. Oh my gosh, Bridget, go to the theater.
I'm going to this weekend. I'm not taking Oliver.